Hello, one and all, and welcome back to the channel. As I've said, I find Amazon to be one of the most interesting places where I can find beers from around Mexico, especially the artisanal beers, of which there are many now. I think it's a good channel for brewers, especially the small ones, to kind of push and promote their beers. So I'm going to try a couple of beers, actually quite interesting ones. I haven't seen these styles here in Mexico, well, certainly not recently. I've tried one style which is very Belgian in its style, and these come from the Colombo brewery, which are over in Jalisco, over to the west. Actually, in Jalisco, they do make some very good beers, especially in Guadalajara. And this comes from the town of Zapotlatic. I had to practice that word. Actually, I received a box of a selection of their beers, and there are 7 that I'm going to be trying, but I'll just have 2 to be getting on with. Now, the first one is this one called Mestiza. It's one made with, it says, agave ale. So I think it's maybe a normal way of brewing beer, but instead of using normal sugars, it uses the miel de agave, that kind of agave honey that you get from the plant that gives us tequila. Let me open it and I'll be right back. So here we are. Let's use my glass that comes from Jalisco, from Minerva, and let's try it. There we go. It has a lovely golden honey-like colour to it. It's a light haze to it. It's probably the mixture of the honey sugars, the agave sugars, I should say, with the yeast. Oh my word, that has the most incredible aroma. That is sweet, has a kind of citrus aroma, and this kind of honey note which just comes out. It's not like bee honey, or as from the translation, miel de abeja, normal honey. But agave honey is so different. Has an incredible sweetness and has different properties to normal honey. This, I like the colour. I mean, it is hazy, but if you like good beer, you never worry about the clarity of the beer. It's only those who drink with their eyes. That is a very different beer. There's this smokiness, a little like the smokiness that you get from, not tequila, but from mezcal. You would think it would have the kind of taste from tequila, seeing as it's Jalisco, but no, this is more like a mezcal type flavor. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful aroma. That is such a lovely beer. not that strong, I don't think. It is lovely. And I like that label. That's a gorgeous label. I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. I said it's not a very strong beer because it doesn't really taste particularly strong. I was totally wrong. Down there, under the text Agave Ale, it says 8.1%. Well, that's a good way to kick things off, isn't it? Start with the strongest. I really should have measured out these beers before I did the taste test, shouldn't I? But all in all, that is gorgeous. Your mouth is filled with so much stuff. You have a sweetness, a honey kicking in, a smokiness, notes of mezcal as well as the beer. It's not so hoppy. There's not a strength or not the normal hoppiness that you would generally get. It's just totally balanced. It's a lovely balanced beer. Sorry for the confusion. I need to reset my teeth. Yeah, I need a reset button on the back of my head, really. Anyway, yeah, it is such a nice beer. That flavour you get is just lovely. It's absolutely delightful. What a delightful beer. I mean, the head's gone. It's a little hazy. But when you have a beer with this flavour, you go by your senses other than sight. People should look at beer that way. People tend to look at it, ooh, that's hazy. Ooh, no, I'm not going to drink that. Why not? After all, most people tend to drink Tecate and others straight from a bottle, don't they? How can they recommend how a beer looks if they've never actually seen it? Oh, yes. My mouth is just full of all these wonderful tastes. They're all dancing on my tongue and playing and having nice gymnastics within my mouth. What a great beer to begin with. So, we've started at 8.1. We're now going to go a little bit lower to 5.2. And this one, Hija de Bandido. Why is it called Hija de Bandido? Well, the name of the brewery, Colombo, comes from the bandit, father of the Hija in the label, Vicente Colombo. And apparently, I don't know if he was from Jalisco, but apparently the legend says that he buried a large cache of money and other valuables at the bottom of the Colima volcano in the state of Colima. Whether that's true, I don't know. But I love the legends that there are here in Mexico. So, we began with 8.1% of alcohol with the agave, and we're going to look at the next one, which is this one, Hija de Bandido. Now, this one is only 5.2% alcohol, And the name Hija de Bandido comes from the fact this is in honor of the daughter of the famous bandit, I'm not sure, late 19th century, early 20th century, Vicente Colombo. I'm not sure. I'm not quite. I must read more about this chap. Anyway, apparently, I don't know if he's from Jalisco, but he apparently buried, not has buried, but apparently he buried a stash of treasure at the base of the volcano in Colima state. Whether this is true or not, I don't know. But I love the legends that there are here in Mexico. Now this one, as you can see, is Frambueza ale. So maybe taking vibes from the Belgian Framboesens? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be like a lambic or Gers beer. Somehow I don't think that sourness is brewed here. But I'm open to being surprised by any beer here. Let's try it out, shall we? Well, a minor emergency there as I opened the bottle, and the whole thing gushed out through the top, so soaking the table in the process. Anyway, let's pour some into the glass that is still left after the surge of beer out of the bottle. Yeah. Oh, that does have a nice raspberry note to it. And as you can see, this is not the colour that you normally get from a beer. It kind of reminds me of the Mi Mangosa that I tried in the very beginning, the one made with mango. It has that same kind of colour. Why shouldn't you use fruit in a beer? This is what people can't understand about the Belgian way of brewing. Oh, that's interesting. It doesn't have the same kind of sourness that you get from a Belgian lambic. But there's a minor sourness. And this is what I like about raspberries. Raspberries do have that little acidity, sourness. Depends when you pick them. I always remember picking raspberries from bushes along the hedgerows in Leicestershire. And you would always know a good raspberry by its colour, but you would still get a nice sourness. And this is kind of sweet and sour. There's a certain sweetness that you get with a very nice raspberry, and then you get a little puckiness, that kind of sourness that comes from the one that isn't quite as ripe as the others. That is rather interesting. I do like that. Yeah, it has that sweetness and sourness, but then there's a dryness on the tongue. It's a dryness from whatever hop. I'm sure they must be using a Belgian hop to kind of recreate that kind of Belgian style beer, which I think this is probably what it's trying to be. Yeah, that's nice. maybe not as good as the Belgian ones, but, well, who can be as good as the Belgian brewers, really? But, yeah. That's a nice aperitif, to be honest. If you're going into a nice meal, this is a nice aperitif. A nice like wine glass. Rather like this, but maybe a little smaller. Yeah, this opens the palate, gets you into the food to begin with. And I think the agave ale that I had before, you could probably enjoy with, I don't know. I'm not sure what I would pair that with. Maybe it would go well with cabrito. Yeah, maybe. Or maybe barbacoa, because you get some very nice barbacoa de borrego and pavo, turkey, as well. And I think that would be a very good beer to follow on from this one. What an interesting first couple of beers. Oh, this is a surprising brewery. Colombo. I'd never heard of this one before. And they really do make some interesting and surprising beers. Now, generally I go from the lowest to the highest, but today it's from the highest to the lowest. And I'm going to try this one from Colombo, which is their Irish Red Ale, which is 4.4% alcohol. So I've gone from 8.1 to 5.5 to 4.4. Now, why would you find an Irish Red Ale in Mexico? Sounds rather odd, doesn't it? But you have to look at Mexican history for this. And it's because of the American-Mexican or Mexican-American War of the 1860s. And during that war, there were many Irish people who fought for the United States. During this time, the Irish were treated probably worse than dogs, and they were treated like dregs of humanity by the United States. Kind of relates to something like today, doesn't it? So during this war, and especially the Battle of Angostura, which was just south of Coahuila, the Mexicans kind of said to the Irish, "Come on, fight for us. We'll look after you much better." And the Irish, I think, kind of thought, well, that sounds a good idea to us. And so I don't know how many soldiers the Americans had which were Irish, but they all said, "Come on, guys, let's go and fight for Mexico." And out of this war came a battalion which is kind of recognized across the whole of Mexico. Even some schools are named after them, which is the Batallón San Patricios, the St. Patrick Battalion. I think this is where this red ale comes from, and maybe that's why stout is popular too. Two things that the Irish introduced into Mexico. Though I would like to have seen boxty and other food, but the Irish introduced drink to Mexico. I think they've also introduced whiskey as well. But anyway, here it is. This is the red ale. It has a nice colour to it. It's not very dark compared to the other ones I've had. This is a very traditional colour. I mean, this is very like the red ales that I've had in Britain that came from Ireland. And it has it's quite malty. But there's this element of fruit that you get in the beer. Certainly in the aroma. In terms of flavour, you also get a fruitiness. I'm not quite sure what the fruit is. Maybe like a little like apple. There's an apple note. Maybe cherry. But it's kind of sweet and sour at the same time. But with a dryness from the hops. That is lovely. That's a really nice beer. And it is a popular style. You see many artisanal you find many an artisanal brewer now producing an Irish red ale, or just a red ale, in honour of the San Patricios, I think it must be. But it is a nice beer. I'm really enjoying that. That is nice. There's the burp. That's bringing up a nice note, as if burps don't do such things. That is lovely. I think of the three, I'm trying to remember the other brewers that made a red ale. I would say this one is the nicest. When you bring in the flavours, as you suck in your cheeks, you get a far nicer mouthfeel. It is lovely. That is an excellent beer. It's so nicely balanced. It feels like a fairly light beer, but it has a very nice strength. I don't know if you could call this a session beer, but it's certainly good. I don't know if you could drink too many of these. Maybe a second you could have. But it's certainly a beer that you could really enjoy with a meal. Maybe with a carne asada. Maybe with a with an asada de puerco. Oh, that would go with a with an asada de puerco. To be honest, that is lovely. It's not one for seafood. It's too heavy, I think, for that. But that is rather nice indeed. So, that's 3 of the Colombo range. I'll look at the others in due course over the week. I'll do a 2 and another 2, rather than a whole range of beers. But for a brewery that I've never tried the beers from before, this really is an excellent range of beers so far. Why have I never seen these before? They are lovely. Ooh. I have found an absolute gem of a brewer. So, thank you very much for watching. Bye for now. Enjoy a beer, and while you're at it, please like and subscribe from those buttons below.